Yeah.
My favorite.
It's Judd's Hockey Show.
And welcome into Judd's Hockey Show. It's Zolgad, it's Declan Goff, and as promised, you're going to see Wild General Manager Bill Guerin joins us, as he's been kind enough to do in the past. And Bill, plenty to get to, plenty to chat about. Off the top, I'd like your answer to this, just as far as your thoughts. Do you, as a guy who played in them as well, do you enjoy what the All-Star weekend and game has become? Because that caused a lot of discussion about where that's at with the 3-on-3 now. Do you enjoy this, or do you have an idea for how we could tweak the All-Star experience again, just from at least an on-ice perspective?
On ice, I'd like to go back to a 5-on-5 game, to be honest with you. Nobody's going to finish hits. It's not going to be what it used to be. Back in like the 80s and stuff like that. Those I used to live for those All-Star games. Wales against the Campbell, and they played. I wouldn't mind seeing a 5-on-5 game and making it a little bit more realistic. It's just not. It's not.
No, it's not.
And
right.
I think too, like, I'm okay with a 6-5 All-Star game. I don't need it to be 18-19. It's after a while, the goals are just like, yeah, big deal.
Yes. Well, and you know what? If I was a goalie and I got elected now, I'd say, you know what? Thanks a lot, guys. This is awesome. Stick it in my pro hockey reference bio. I ain't showing up. I feel bad for those guys. They're just hung out to dry, and it's almost embarrassing because how are they supposed to make saves?
They're not.
Exactly.
They're not.
Okay. All right. So we are, if I'm not mistaken by my math, we're 22 days out until the March 3rd trade deadline right now. How active have your conversations been? We've certainly started to see some trades. At this point in time, are you making calls? Are you getting calls? Is it going both ways? And how active do you expect this to be within the next 22 days as far as the Wild making potential deals?
It's both. I've received. It's starting to pick up a little bit. It was pretty quiet there for a long time, and it's still not. It's not crazy. That's for damn sure. But I've made some calls. I've received some, but like I said, it has not been crazy. And as for how active we're going to be, one way or another, I don't know yet. To be honest with you, we've been in a good spot, to date. We're still in a wild card spot. It's not perfect, but I think a lot of teams would trade places with us. So we're just going to keep kind of moving forward and see what we can do in the next couple of weeks.
Billy, obviously this team's not maybe at the same points they were at this point a season ago, but at the same time, to your point, they're still in fighting position to be in the playoffs. Is there something, even with how at times inconsistent this team has played this year compared to last year, is there something about this team that you actually do like more, or that gives you a little bit more optimism that there is still a playoff run that's in with this team?
I do. It's almost like it's two different teams, to be quite honest with you. But there's a lot I like about this team. You know what I mean? We're big. We can play with speed. We can play it any way you want to play it. We have good goaltending. We have, strong D. The one thing that everybody's talking about is, we're struggling to score goals. And I think that's the biggest thing that we've missed from last year to this year. But no, I think there's a lot more that this team can deliver. And to be quite frank, we're going to have to deliver more. We're not playing well enough. And I think it's in there.
So does the recent stretch of games now, because there's been, it started off rocky, it got good, and now it's been, especially to your point, Bill, 5-on-5, it's been a bit rocky again, trying to score goals. Does what you've seen now, does it push you more in your job as a GM towards thinking about trades, or does it push you away? Because your comment, I think about a month back now, was this team will basically inform me and tell me what I should do as the deadline approaches. So I'm just curious, does this alter your thinking of, oh my gosh, I've got to go get, for instance, a top 6 forward, or does it actually make you say, I really like my prospects and my draft capital, and it's probably not worth more of an investment for what would end up being a rental?
Yeah, I think I understand your question. And to me, I mean, look, we still have a couple weeks to go before the deadline, so I'm not gonna, say anything that should be written in stone. But you're right. Like, look, I'm not gonna go out and make a trade just to make a trade if I don't feel it's going to really help us. Just to say, hey, look, we got this guy, we tried. If I don't feel like it's really going to help us, we're not gonna waste the capital to do that. And kind of on that, I don't think there's a trade out there that can fix exactly what's going on. What is going on needs to be handled internally first. If it's not handled internally, nothing's coming in from the outside that's gonna, snap your fingers and it's all fixed. No. First, this has to be taken care of internally.
Bill, with your with the prospect, go ahead, Judd. Yep, go ahead.
What is that? Does that mean internally on the ice? Does that mean internally on and off the ice? Like, just expand upon what internally means in this case.
The problems that we have are internal. The guys that we have right now that are struggling, we need to have them find their game. We need to have them find their scoring touch. We can't bring in guys to say, like, okay, here's player A. He's going to score all the goals now. You guys don't worry about that. The guys that are struggling right now, we need them to start chipping in again. And look at a lot of guys last year had career years. We're not looking for that. That's too much to ask for. That's just kind of everybody has one of those years, but we could get a little more from everybody.
Bill, one guy I've seen that's really stepped up more and more on the ice, and I'm kind of curious on how he has kind of matured even off the ice, to your point of, guys stepping up maybe internally. Joel Eriksson Ek, who is now really has reached a new level to his offensive game. I think even a few years ago, you came on this podcast and I said, Bill, I don't think there's too much more to this offensive game. You said, no. Oh, there certainly is. And the guy's been showing up big time over the last two seasons. Have you noticed anything else, though, not just on the ice, but off the ice with him, that is there a little bit more confidence, a little bit more swagger, just to his mantra and whatnot?
I think he's a pretty confident guy. He's just so quiet. Like, he's not gonna, he's not walking around with his chest out or anything like that. But he's such a humble guy. But I think there is an inner confidence to him, and he's got that good edge to his game as well that he brings every single night, no matter what. And you know what? I'm glad you finally admitted that you were wrong. I was right. And the sky's the limit for this guy, and he's been very good for us.
Bill, to go back to on potential roster construction right now, when you look at potential deals, and let's say, because I think that this will be the case, you'll get calls on rentals from teams that like your draft pick status and your prospect status. How do you weigh that when you are now, like, when you got here? There is no question that the prospects were few and far between, and you and Judd have worked pretty doggone hard to change that. And that's now changed. This draft is supposedly really, really good. So, like, when you're assessing, okay, this rental could come in and help. And if we were ready to pop for a Stanley Cup, I would do it. But that being said, you've now got, I think, the organization at such a sweet spot. How much are you almost protective of that, based on the fact that this took a lot of work to get back here or to get here?
I'm very protective of it. And you're right. It's not just me and Judd. It's an entire amateur scouting staff. It's entire hockey ops. It's player development. It's pro scout. Everybody that's involved has worked extremely hard to to get back to where we should be, and we're in a very good spot. So I'm very protective over it, and these young players that we're talking about, they're a big part of the future. A lot of them are the future, and we have to protect it. We can't, and it's not just that we're protecting our picks. We don't want to give it. No, it's just maybe the timing isn't right. Maybe we have to wait a couple of years to do that. And I there are teams in a position to, they've built up their prospects and their draft picks so much that they can sacrifice a few. And I don't think we're there yet.
Do you even think, Billy, that there's guys internally, obviously with the prospect pool being as deep as it is, and guys having great years in Iowa? I know Marco Rossi's having a really good season. Obviously, you saw Sammy Walker come up here with a couple games, and he looked pretty confident. Is the answer maybe even not just external with trade deadlines, just more fun and more juicy to talk about? Is there a belief that internally that there's guys, just down 35E here that could potentially help you if you could call upon them and help you make your roster better?
Yeah, that's actually a very good point. Like we talked about solving things internally, it could be internally that way. It's not just the guys that are in Minnesota right now, but it could be somebody from Iowa. It could be a Marco Rossi, Sammy Walker, and any number of guys, which, I think are all good options as well. So, like I said, over the next couple of weeks, we really have to kind of fine tune our the direction that we're going in our game plan. But right now, it's a real big time for information gathering.
What will be the trigger for Rossi to get called up? Because I think he's the name that comes off fans' lips very quickly, Bill, and clearly he's gone down and done a nice job, gained the confidence, and I think he's probably played more with the edge that we talked about previously that wasn't necessarily always there up here. So what's sort of the next step towards saying, okay, I think he's now graduated to a point where we're comfortable playing him in the National Hockey League?
Well, the most important thing is actually having a roster spot for him, which we don't right now. We're pretty healthy up front. I mean, we've got a guy like Mason Shaw sitting in the stands. He's, in a short amount of time, he's accumulated a couple goals, some assists. I think he's got 4 goals, maybe 11 assists, 15 points, something like that, and 3 fights or whatever. Like he's been really good. So there's no rush to just bring Marco up and, like I said in another interview or whatever, like I'm not going to bring him in here to save the day. Like he can't do that. That's too much pressure to put on a kid, and that's not going to happen. But that doesn't mean that somewhere down the line that Marco doesn't come back up and contribute. Same thing with a number of guys down there.
Bill, too, with guys like Ryan Hartman and Foligno, who, had career seasons a year ago, were you surprised to see this amount, though, of drop-off just in their offensive and box score production here? I mean, those were 2 dudes that scored some big-time goals. They put up big numbers, but the drop-off has been a little significant. Was that even a surprise to you of how little that maybe those guys have contributed offensively from a season ago?
Yeah, I actually am, because I think a lot of both of the players, I think they're both capable to getting at least close to that. And you know what? And as much as everybody has a career year, everybody has off years too. I'm just hoping that it's not something that's going to continue the last, 31 games of the season, that, they can find a scoring touch.
So after the loss to the Stars last night, I saw that the players closed the locker room doors and had the old closed door thing. As a former player, especially, what's your opinion of those? Like, do those work? Are they just ordinarily frustration? How much validity do you put into the effectiveness of players actually telling the coaches, we're going to discuss this amongst ourselves?
They work if you're not full of shit. That's basically it. I believe in them. I believe the guys have to work it out on their own, but and I don't know what was said in that one. I've been in meetings like that have really worked, and I've been in meetings like that it was just a bunch of people wanting to hear themselves talk. So it can go either way. And I believe in our group. I believe that they have actual true chemistry where they have the ability to say hard things to each other, or about themselves in front of each other, or about the team and what they have to do. So I don't see this group as being one that would have a whole lot of time for a BS meeting. And you know what? Hopefully it works.
What's the best one, or the most effective one that you were actually involved in as a player? And if you could take us inside, feel free.
Wait, hold on. It was January 14th, 1997 at 10:34 at night. I have no idea. Are you kidding?
You don't remember an effect?
You think I remember one?
I thought you might. I thought there might have been, some words exchanged. I thought I'm always trying to get the old school stories. I want to hear them. I'm willing to bet. I'm willing to bet some F-bombs flew.
Oh, do you think that's an everyday conversation?
I know it is, but I want to hear some of the juicy stuff.
No, I got to be honest with you. I don't remember any one particular. I don't know. No, I honestly don't remember like one particular one that you would find interesting.
Oh, that's too bad. So do you think right now with the rocky stretch or rough stretch of late, do you think the team is simply not playing well? Do you think that they're like, when you watch this, are you upset and frustrated and mad, or are you upset but you sort of see that, okay, seasons do go in cycles? I'm just curious because it was off the top of the show when you talked about this being two different teams at times. I'm just curious where that leaves a GM and a coach as far as the thought process on what they have with the team and I guess its makeup.
Well, I will say this. Being in my position, watching games from where I do, the game is extremely easy. It is an unfair assessment of how the game really goes. Because if you go down a couple levels and you watch either at ice level or close to ice level, you will see that there is not nearly as much room as you might think. And I know you watch from up there too. So it is an unfair assessment. So during the game, there are times I get frustrated. And I think a lot of the frustration comes from me not being able to do anything. It's in the players' hands now. Even the coaches can only, say so much, when the players have had to, they have to carry out the task. The one thing I do see is our execution level is not at a very high level right now. Last night I was a little frustrated with, our passing was off. Like, we're putting it in each other's feet. We're not, if a guy wants a one-timer, it's a little behind him. It's not where, he needs it. If, we're not catching passes. And so simple things like that, I think, need to get better in order for us to be more consistent and be more successful.
Billy, looking at back to the trade deadline just a little bit here, you said you're receiving calls and vice versa compared to a year ago. And I know every year is different because the trade deadline is even pushed back a little bit further for this season. Do you anticipate that this being kind of a similar active trade deadline? I know it's a little early to forecast, but where's your kind of barometer shifting of it being an active trade deadline around the league, or is it just kind of status quo as it is right now?
We get asked that every year, and I think every year it's active. It just happens. Deals just start coming through, and teams find themselves in a different position that they thought they'd be, or once a player that once had too high an asking price comes down and you can do it, or whatever it is. I just think, we're all watching TV and you see the trades start coming through. it's always more than you think, or just as much as last year. So I always expect there to be a lot.
Last one, sir. 12 games before the deadline, 9 are at home. How much is this next stretch of a dozen games going to essentially determine what you do or don't do?
It's pretty critical. I think this next stretch of games is critical to our whole season, to be quite honest.
Mm-hmm.
We can't be giving away points, like we did, the other night in Arizona. We can't show up halfway through the game like we did last night in Dallas. We just can't do it. We can't afford it. Nobody's slowing down. Everybody's staying in it. Including us. We're not going anywhere. But we have to understand too. This might come down to the last day of the season.
Mm-hmm.
So when we have a home stretch like this, I know it's a little long and this and that and whatever. No, nothing matters now. We need to win hockey games.
Great stuff, sir. Thanks. Appreciate the
thanks
time.
for having me. Yeah, been
All
too
right.
long.
See you at the rink. We'll have you on soon again, okay?
All right, great.
We'll ask you back way sooner. All right.
Yeah, I want my parting gift too.
You got
Your
it.
parting gift. It's suggestions from me about what you can do. How about that for a parting gift?
Oh God, thanks.
Appreciate it, Billy.
See you, Bill. All right. Wild GM Bill Guerin, as always, candid. Great stuff. Let's react to that. But before we do that, Dex, why don't you tell me about a potential Valentine's Day gift that you think the viewers of JHS would definitely be interested in, especially for the gal?
Yeah, it's Valentine's Day coming up, and sometimes guys, right? Like, yeah, you're kind of at the drawing board. Yeah, you could go with the classic flowers route, but that's time to cliche. It can be really expensive. You don't know what you want to do. I've been talking about my friends Judd at Popcorn for a while now. How about this bad boy? I have to get out. I have to back up a little bit.
Bring that closer though. Let's see lift that up. That's nice.
Got some popcorn in here. It's beautifully decorated. That his or her would love to have. You can get this at Popcorn. We're recording this. It's still Valentine's Day weekend. We all know every guy procrastinates to the last possible minute, especially after Super Bowl Sunday. So right before the big game starts, maybe, let's head on over to popcorn.com. Once you order this bad boy, if you're in the Metro or you're in the Twin Cities area, great. You can go in their store at Minnetonka off Shady Oak Road in 62. It's in the Metro, or you can order online at popcorn.com. Go check out my friends at popcorn.com, the most delicious small batches of popcorn on the planet. Go check out popcorn.com.
Absolutely love that. All right. What was your biggest takeaway from our conversation with Bill Guerin?
I'm guessing yours is potentially the same because we pressed him a little bit on it, but the fact he pretty harped on it that this problem is internal. And not internal, Judd, in my opinion, of a toxic internal issue.
That's what I was trying to ferret out. And yes, I agree completely with what you said.
He wasn't saying that there's an internal toxic issue which this team in previous regulations and previous captains have endured. Bill is not insinuating that, and nor do I believe that that's the issue either. He truly believes, and that's why I asked him about the regression. Is it surprising to see Hartman and Foligno's? Because I think even he was taken back by.
Because you called it. It's because you called it.
Well, I want a little bit of a point.
You were talking about this a year ago, and I've given you praise.
Hey! I admitted I was wrong on Eriksson Ek. I was going to shove it in his face that I was going to be right about.
I know, but you were calling regression on these two in October of 20, whatever it was. 21.
But I did find that very interesting. That the biggest thing here is it's not a toxic issue. It's not injuries. It's internal battle with some of these players that is causing them to lose points, causing them to lose games, and then also causing them to lose some confidence too.
Lots of things that I thought were intriguing. One is I think Marco Rossi is closer to coming back up than I did previously, and not coming back up because first of all, I said we don't have a roster spot. Well, guess what? You can make one.
Yeah, it's easy to give me a pencil.
Second of all, I totally get the let's not dumb down. That's not the right word. Let's reduce the expectations here. But he certainly, I mean, I think off your question, he certainly left it open that there's an opportunity that guys from Des Moines could come up here and help.
For sure.
And Rossi's probably atop that list. So, and look, they need centers. They need talent there. So I guess I went into the conversation thinking that he was going to really downplay it again. And all he really said was, hey, it's not fair to expect the kid to turn into Gretzky. But like, he also didn't say, no, he ain't coming up. So I would not be surprised if the 5-on-5 scoring problems happen. And by the way, the Wild right now, 5-on-5 for the season. So this is not just recent. 85 5-on-5 goals. They're 28th. Now, amazingly, like 29th is the Colorado Avalanche, which is absolutely incredible. But, this team right now and really for the season has consistently not scored goals 5-on-5. Kevin Fiala being gone is huge. My other takeaway was, and this is not a surprise at all, but, the importance of the next 12 games and 9 at home and a 7-game homestand. And if they go belly up here, I think that's probably it. There's no doubt that Bill Guerin is not going to, because I take what almost everything he says at face value, Dex. He's not going to make a trade for the sake of saying I made a trade.
Yep.
It's going to be a trade to help. And that's, again, I like how he is putting a lot of internal pressure on guys who are here right now, which I really like. So I guess the best way to describe this, just in total fairness to the situation, is fluid.
Yeah.
Like, he's far from decided yet, but he's not also, do you get the sense that this guy just is simply not going to panic? Because that's my sense.
Oh, he won't panic. No.
Like, I don't think he's going to be like, I got to make a trade to make a trade.
No.
The guy that told the owner, who is good friends with Ryan Suter, that I'm buying Parise and Suter out, very much is going to have control of this. And I think there's a fighting chance he might say this team's not worth it. Because if you're Bill Guerin, you don't make a trade to try to win the first round. You either make a trade to try to make it to the cup, or you say, you know what? And he did say this, in a couple of years, it might be far more appropriate. And he's right.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I don't want him to make a panic trade either. And nor do I think he's going to do that. Could he make a trade that, that it could help this team in the long run because they need a shot in the arm? To a degree, he will do that, but he's not going to panic to do it. He's not going to give up significant assets to make that happen. I agree. I think he's a very candid guy. Look, a lot of executives and a lot of GMs, and to a degree, is Bill also kind of spinning us a little bit? For sure. That's what GMs do, man. And that's not anything of breaking news, but I think in general, he lays most of the stuff out there. He's not going to completely lie to your face like a lot of other executives in this town. And this homestand is very important because if they can pull this off and get right back into it, it's a crowded West. They've left a lot of points on the board recently. So you got to make some hay here.
Yeah, and the thing about this homestand, especially the next 7 games, they are tough. Like, this is not cream puffs. This is not like just the Blackhawks showing up. This is, the Golden Knights tonight on Thursday and the Dallas Stars and the Devils. Although Jack Hughes is hurt now and he's not going to play on Saturday. As a fan of hockey, very disappointed. If you're a fan of the Wild, you're probably pleased by that. The other thing, to your point too, is I think the shot in the arm trade was Ryan Reeves. So I think they've gone down that path. Like, Reeves gave this team a shot. Like, he came in, this team was timid, meek. I don't know what the right word is, but when they didn't get off to a good start, they lacked all the personality that I thought that they had in spades a year ago. And Ryan Reeves changed that. So I don't think Bill Guerin, though, is now going to say, you know what, it's time for another personality trade. A personality trade helps shape the room, but it's also not going to get you to a Stanley Cup Finals. So I just find all of those things to be intriguing. Going to wrap things up shortly here. Again, we appreciate Bill Guerin's time. But before we do, Declan, I want to tell you about my friends at Livia Weight Control Centers who helped me drop 40 pounds and most importantly have helped me keep the weight off. That's the key here. Because I said Livia Weight Control Centers. This is not a diet. Look at the guy on the left. Look at the guy on the right. That's right. Sports Dad. It's the same guy. Can you believe it? But the guy on the right, much like me today, lost the weight and got help keeping the weight off. It's a lifestyle change that I can tell you right now. And a lot of people who are Score North listeners can attest to, because we've had a ton of people join and it's been great for them as well. They can tell you that this program works. And right now, if you give them a call or go online, 50% off. 50% off. All you have to ask for is the Judd offer from Score North, 855-GO-LIVIA, Livia, Livea.com. Livia.com begins your weight loss journey and most importantly, keeping the weight off. Final thoughts, my good man.
I hope we get a little bit more action here. We saw some trade deadline stuff trickle in right before we recorded today. Tarasenko on the move to the Rangers.
Yeah, so Patrick Kane now probably almost certainly off the table as far as that goes.
Right. And look, I know what cross sport, obviously it's NBA trade deadline day and we're recording this, so that's getting all the headlines, and rightfully so. It's been a great day, and go check out Flagrant Howls on this YouTube channel if you want some basketball and Wolves breakdown from the Wolves trading D'Lo. But with the NHL side, now that Tarasenko is starting to go, we obviously saw Bo Horvat go. Here's one I'm curious on, and I saw, I believe, our other friend of the show, Puck Daddy, the artist formerly known as Puck Daddy, Greg Wyshynski, talk about this. What's going to happen in Detroit with Dylan Larkin? Well, this is very interesting to me.
Yeah, it's interesting because he's the captain. He's from there. He's a hero there. But Stevie Y is a tough nut to crack. He is Lamoriello-like, and so he's not going to just open up the checkbook. I think they think that they'll probably get some type of, in the end of the day, a hometown discount. I don't know if they're right, but if that guy hits the market, he's getting paid because he's a really good player.
Dude.
I don't know the Red Wings are at a point where they can let him go, though.
No.
He's such an integral part of a team that's been so bad now, unfortunately, because it was fun when they were good for so long. But yeah, that's a really intriguing question. I think we are going to see, to go to your question to Bill, I think we're going to see, much like we did with the NBA today, a ton of deadline deals.
Yeah,
a lot of contracts expiring.
And if they were to make him available, they'd get way more than Bo Horvat. Like, they'd get more than Tarasenko. Like, they would get for a lack of better words, king's ransom, to use the Gretzky term when he was traded. I mean, you'd get a haul. Especially if he knew that he was going to sign an extension with his new team. Yeah.
If he's going to get an extension with his new team, then yeah, they would absolutely kill. But there's a lot of very intriguing names now out there. Heck, just start with the Blackhawks and Kane and Taves. And I mean, Kane, to me, if Kane goes to the right team, goes home to Buffalo, that guy has a lot left. Taves, I'm not sure about as far as what's left in the tank. I think they're both 34, but yeah, I'm with you. I think this is going to be great fun. And of course, Judd's Hockey Show will continue to discuss.
By the way,
before
we wrap up, go check out some Tommy Sports this weekend. You got the University of St. Thomas. They are home this weekend against Northern Michigan, right at St. Thomas Ice Arena. You can hear the games on ESPN 1500, this radio dial that helps keep the lights on as well. Or you can go check out some hockey in person. Go to TommySports.com. Nice affordable tickets there. Go check out TommySports.com. Obviously, you can listen to on ESPN 1500. UST, my guy Enrico Blase, hosting Northern Michigan this weekend at St. Thomas Ice Arena. Go check out the University of Tommy's men's hockey. Go check it out.
Fantastic. And we are back soon. Thanks again to Bill Guerin. I would imagine that we'll try and get him on again around or right after the March 3rd trade.
Yeah, no more lapses. Otherwise,
he gave me crap the last time I talked. He's like, "When are you going to have me back on? Are you pissed off at me?" I was like, "No,
don't get Billy on our bad side here." Okay?
I don't want to infringe on your time. That's all I said.
Don't do that. All right, pass, shoot, score.
There's no room for petty bull.